Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Talk Cocky with me. So we have officially hit the midway point in the season. We've got our bye week, so wanted to get a couple guys together and take a look at the first 6 games of the season, see how we feel with what's happened before, see how we feel about the future of the season, where we're going to go. Brought back a Talk Hockey with me OG, Mr. Chuck, USCEngineer. What's up, man?
What up?
And then I am proud to say we have finally been able to get this thing timed up to where the one and only Mr. Statman Gamecock Russ has been able to join. So say what's up.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
So me and Russ have been talking probably for about 2 months on how to get him on the show. And after the season, we're going to do another one where he can just go stat crazy and make all you stat people like cream in your pants and do your thing that gets weird. But we've
Yes, sir.
Before I was actually not working until 10:30 in the morning, so we were like, oh, let's totally do one. We'll be able to do it. You get home at the same time I'm off, and then literally the day that we scheduled, my schedule got changed to 8:00. So
Yeah.
we've been going back and forth a little bit. So I'll let y'all start it off. So Russ, you're the newest to the show. How do you feel right now at the halfway point?
Well, at the halfway point, I'd have to say I'm actually pretty pleased, which is probably not a fan favorite right now because, Arkansas and Georgia, you wanted a better showing. But if you look at the schedule coming into this year, you knew you were going to beat Georgia State. Arkansas was kind of going to be one of those, I don't think we're going to have that one. And Georgia was guaranteed loss. That's what Gamecock Nation said. And then it happens and everyone's just like, oh, this isn't good. But I feel like we are right where we should be at this point. You blow out Charlotte and South Carolina State. That's what you were supposed to do. You did it. Under the last coaching staff, I don't think those would have quite been 50-plus points.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go on the road.
And really, we've always struggled in those games. I mean, I know you said the last staff, but it doesn't matter who our coaching staff's been. We typically don't do well in those games.
We do not. It's I don't know if it's a motivation thing or what, but it's like I remember sitting in the stands when we played the Citadel.
Yeah,
and I saw the team run out. I was like, we might win.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But sorry, Russ, I interrupted you. Get back to it.
You're good, man. But a little side note on that. Go back what year was it under Steve Spurrier? It was one of his first within his first 4 years, we played South Carolina State, and it was, 24-7?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Jarvis Giles had a touchdown run, and we thought he was going to go on to be what Marcus Lattimore was in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But, going back to that last staff, they would have struggled, probably would have lost to Charlotte when they went down. When Charlotte came down and scored that touchdown to go up, what was it, mid-second quarter or somewhere around there?
Yeah.
Under Muschamp, that team probably would have just been like, oh, that's it. We can't stop this quarterback. But nah, adjustments were made. They did what they were supposed to, end up blowing them out. South Carolina State, blew them out. Haven't beat Kentucky in Lexington since 2012. 4-game losing streak. And that's now snapped. Team was not perfect in the first half by any means, but, they didn't give up. And they literally could have won that game probably by 30 or so. But, I'll take a 10-point win.
It was not as close as that scoreboard looked. And what's funny, too, is according to their fans, they've won approximately 17 consecutive national championships, and South Carolina had no business even walking into the stadium because we had zero chance of winning.
Exactly.
I get that Gamecock fans, we kind of hype our team up every year, sometimes whether or not they deserve it or not. This year, I do think we actually, have a pretty good team, but I realize we don't always keep our expectations where it probably needs to be, but I think Kentucky fans are learning that lesson. You know, we went through it with 2010 to 2014 where we were like, okay, we have arrived. We're here. We're not going anywhere.
We got a place at the table.
Yeah, I think they're in the 2013, 2014 year of ours. I think Stoops is probably getting a little irritated with everything around Kentucky, not giving them respects. Unfortunately for those guys, because I like seeing Kentucky do well. I think it's good for the conference when you don't just have two teams that are at the top.
I agree.
Yeah,
but I think they're probably close to coming back down. But Chuck, how are you seeing the first half?
well, honestly, you know, when I saw the schedule, I was like, okay, 6 games. My expectation was 3-3. Didn't know which 3 and we would win or lose. That's just my expectation.
If we would have lost any of the 3 that were guaranteed, I would have shot you. we would have had no business losing any of those 3 games. But continue.
But we're 4-2, so my pragmatism looking at it, I think we're ahead. Because I mean, anytime you go on the road in the SEC to play, it's tough. I mean, I don't care if it's the 14 teams that currently even going to Vanderbilt, it's not a cakewalk.
Exactly.
And going up to Kentucky to Lexington, I didn't think it would be a cakewalk, but I think I don't want to say we stole one, but I think that we kind of showed what we're made of. Going up there, not quitting, and fighting for the whole game.
Yeah.
We're like Russ said, have we been perfect? No. I mean, I try to look at things from the top down, and when I say the top down, I mean like, what's our record? Okay, that's to me, that's more important.
Right.
Then you start looking at the other things that fall beneath it. I like first half we got our butts kicked in stats, but we all know stats don't win football games.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if you run 3 plays and that's all you run in the first half, but you score 3 touchdowns. What does it matter?
Yep.
Right. So I mean, so looking at it, I think we are one step farther down the road than my expectations. And granted, I came into the season with I was trying to manage my expectations and not get too grandiose with what I thought. Been a Gamecock too long for that. So,
and for the people that are not, fancy engineers, you might want to explain what grandiose means.
Big expectations.
I'm from the hills. You got to use little words with 2 syllables or less. That's the rules.
Duly noted.
But no, I'm right there with y'all. Obviously, clearly before the season, I said we were going 12-0 and then 15-0 with a national title because that's just what kind of a fan I am, and I still believe that we have the talent that we could have and should have competed with everybody on our team. Of course, we got banged up. I think Arkansas, I think they benefit a little bit with us being banged up. And then I think, too, just we're still trying to figure out how to play the run with this defensive scheme. They haven't been terrible. The problem is Arkansas game was what they had 20-something broken tackles. So that game was just a terrible tackling game, and you have them at times. Again, it's amazing that we missed 21 tackles, and it felt like we could not bring anybody down. But Marcus Lattimore broke 29 by himself against Georgia in 2010. Like,
right.
That is insane. But that Arkansas game, it was like Tennessee last year. They just came out, punched us in the mouth. We didn't go down. We held on. We fought back. We still had a chance to take the lead in the third quarter, fourth quarter, early, whenever it was.
Right.
We were still driving with a chance to take a lead in that game. And then, of course, just kind of how the game goes, you had to kick the onside and stuff. So then the score really expanded past where that's the reverse of the Kentucky game is the score ultimately looked a lot worse than the game was early in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Not the first quarter, but the fourth quarter.
Right.
Georgia, I was kind of surprised that they came out and thumped us as well as they did. That was just one. I don't think everybody was mentally ready for that game yet. I don't think the team was ready to take that step to compete on that level. But
yeah,
I mean, you got like Russ, you said a while ago, we had 2 back-to-back games, 50 points, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody gave a crap. And I think a lot of the reason people don't want to say, hey, we just scored 50 points in back-to-back games for the first time since nobody on our team was alive since 1996. Right. I don't think people want to talk about it because then you would have to kind of give Coach Sat a little nod of the cap.
Yeah, and I think people would rather cross the street. You know, if they saw him walking down the street, they would want to cross the street than tell him good job.
Yeah, I think our fan, and that was always the thing with Coach Muschamp. And I wasn't a huge fan of the hire, but then kind of the more I looked into it, I actually liked it. His first few seasons looked really, really good, and then I think he lost the locker room, but that's another story.
Yeah.
I will never, I don't care how much I hate a coach or whatever, I'll never wish my team to do bad so they can get fired.
Right.
I will always wish that they get better because then that means our team's going to win.
That's
and that's that's the end result.
I'm glad you said that because what it feels like to me, like obviously going off of social media and stuff, is during his tenure, even at the beginning, people just wanted him to fail so they could be
just
like,
hated him.
I told you so. I told you so.
Yeah. And then when he tied or broke Spurrier's 3-year win record and all, you still have to, well, it's because he had an extra game. Like, just say, yo, dude, congrats.
Just eat your crow, say thank you, and move along.
Right. You could still say you didn't like the product, say you didn't like the offense, or yeah, we won, but this, whatever. But give the man credit. You know, he won. Your team won. That's a good thing. That's what we all want, I think.
At the end of the day, everyone says the same thing. Like, say, what if we would have lost to Georgia by 1 point? A win is a win, a loss is a loss. It's all you would have heard.
Yep. That's right.
But, you know, since win is winning, not enough. Like, we're 4-2. Most people, like Chuck said, he expected 3-3. I've seen a lot of those predictions, 3-3 at this point. Some people even saying maybe 2-4 because Georgia State, like coming into this year, they look like they were gonna probably do better than what they did. So it's like that 3-3, 2-4. No one was like, "Oh, South Carolina's 100% gonna be 4-2," and people are not happy with it right now.
Yeah, well, like, and that was the thing too. Like although I said we weren't losing a game, I mean, realistic when you looked at the schedule. Obviously, Arkansas and Georgia were going to be the toughest, and Kentucky. I mean, they were getting a whole lot of praise preseason.
Yeah.
Record-wise, I'm okay with it. 4-2 through this stretch is good. I would have just liked to have seen a little more in the Arkansas and Georgia game.
And I agree with that.
So,
yes, I agree wholeheartedly with that.
But as far as Kentucky, and actually I did, as amazing as this is, I actually took some notes because I wanted to address this. So Gamecock Lifer, he actually just responded to us to me on Twitter, and Russ, we were talking about it just before I started recording. So Russ, you had posted, I'm clicking on the wrong one. I'm trying to find it. There it is. So you posted hypothetically, of course, because we have to wait to find out what if South Carolina beats A&M. Yes. So I came back and said, I don't know if the bye week came at a good time or not. I feel like the offense is starting to click a little bit. I hope we don't lose any momentum and we're able to build on it. Gamecock Lifer, I told you we were going to respond to it, so I won't do it here for you. So he said he disagrees because we had 90 total yards in the first half and two turnovers. You know, Lloyd's clicking, but besides that, not a whole lot. Okay, I can kind of get that. So I took a few minutes before we started recording and pulled this. 90 yards first half. It sounds terrible. Yeah. You had an entire half of football. You got 90 yards.
Yeah.
The first drive, first time we had the ball, we had 2 yards, touchdown.
2 yards.
That was exactly what you were saying a while ago, Chuck. 2 yards. Next time we had the ball, we blocked the punt. Yes, Spencer ended up fumbling, but the most we could have gotten if we scored a touchdown was 20 yards.
Right. So that's just say 22.
Yep. Yeah, somewhere in there, wherever the ball was placed. It was right around there.
Yeah.
So add that to it, you're at 112. Okay. We had 112 yards in the first half. That's terrible. We could have actually had an extra touchdown.
Yeah.
But still just 112 yards. And not to take away anything that Kentucky did for that, but that was just how the game went. We didn't have a lot of opportunities. And then if you want to say, okay, well, we still had the ball multiple times, didn't do a whole lot with it. So we had our first actual drive. We had those 2 weird false start penalties on first.
Back to back. Yeah.
And it was so strange because typically when somebody jumps, you might see like one person go, no, he flinched or he did this. The instant the whistle blew on both of those plays, Spencer was pointing, turning around to the umps. Douglas was pointing, like half the line's pointing. Everything on our team indicated that Kentucky was doing something to cause that, which is illegal. It's a flag against Kentucky.
Yes, it is.
But when you have those 2, you're immediately 1st and 20 back on, I think like the 15-ish, 20-yard line or something.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really hard situation for offenses to come out that early in a game. You just don't see those type of drives go straight down the field for touchdowns. It's just a hard start. And not making excuses. Offense still is supposed to be out there to score, but you just don't see those having high percentages of scoring on those drives.
Right.
After that, there were 3 drives that we had the entire rest of the first half. Where's this one go? So we had one, we went 29 yards and didn't pick it up on the 4th down, which I won't address that play, but I will never understand how it's 4th and short, 1st and goal from 1, and people running out of the shotgun. We cannot blame Coach Satt because Steve Spurrier used to call that crap all the time. We just had Marcus Lattimore that could do it.
I'm screaming. I'm like, get under center.
But that was another one. As soon as they lined up, every single person in the world went, oh, we're about to run it.
That's right.
Kentucky brought every single person they had on defense. And I'm like,
they brought the house.
So we had that one. Then we had another drive. We went 27 yards, ended up punting. But then our very last drive of that whole half was the one that we had it with just shy of 6 minutes, trying to get some points before halftime. But we're also working the clock.
That's right.
So we had 3 drives that had absolutely limited opportunity of really gaining yards. We had some really good kickoff returns. Just the way that game played, there wasn't – could we have gotten more? Absolutely. I mean, we 100% could have gotten more yards.
It would have been difficult to get 200.
Yeah.
Just given our where we got the ball.
We would have needed to have been up 24 or 30 something to 7 or whatever the crap Kentucky would have had to have had 200 yards in the first half.
Yeah.
Just the way that game played out. But so you're coming off of back-to-back 50-point wins, 24 points, which, again, we've already mentioned everybody's love-hate for Coach Satt. That second half offense, whoever's calling the plays, I don't know if Beamer said, yo, dude, I'm calling it, or somebody call it, or if the light switch finally turned off on Satt, or if they said, hey, open the house. That second half of play calling, I absolutely loved. I don't give a crap what anybody says on Twitter. I loved those play calling.
I did too. When I rewatched the game last night. I think it was Juju had that touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Juju?
No, that was Dante Miller.
That's right. The way they ran that reverse and the blocking for that reverse.
Oh yeah.
Juice just decleated that linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw that.
Which the announcers were they're trying to get that play out of college.
Yeah.
No, people was like, well, that's illegal. I was like, no. I said his body was not facing his goal line. You can't come back and do that. He came down the line, and when that guy turned around, laid him out. To me, that was a beautiful block. And then you look at the offensive line, it's like this. It just felt like, I don't want to say somebody else was calling the plays, but I didn't have the same feeling watching the play calling in the second half that I've had for the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Had a whole nother feel to it, man. Like,
right.
They looked hungry. Like, on the offensive line, like, you look back at the first game and then skip ahead to, the Kentucky game. They're like opening it up, freaking the Jalen Brooks, like, 24-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lloyd, 5.0 yards per carry, and could have been even better. God.
I mean, I remember a couple of runs he had that he cut back inside that if he'd cut outside, he might have got 5 or 6 more yards.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it was like, I'm not going to compare Marshawn to Marcus, but it seemed that in the same vein that Marshawn and the line got stronger as the game went on.
Oh, yeah.
Just like Marcus and that line got stronger as the game went on when he was here.
Well, let me ask you this, too. So we're talking about the offensive play call and everything. And even that it looks like the offensive line's getting more aggressive and all this. One of my biggest things, I harp on it all the time, is I don't care what the play call is, the players have to execute it.
That's right.
When Georgia and Alabama lines up, they're going to run it straight up the middle. You got to stop it. Right. You can't, because they execute. They outblock you, and then you can't tackle them. So we all want Lattimore. We all want Satterfield to get creative, to call this, to call that, and get the ball here, get the ball there. Like, they still have to go out and execute the play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when we call a dive up the gut, the line still has to block. They still got to open the holes. And we're starting to see that. I really like where the line's going. But let me ask you, do we think the play calling changed? Or do we think people are finally understanding it, finally breaking free, getting open downfield so Spencer can hit them? Because I think, too, earlier in the season, I think Spencer's been a little bit more in his head. Although he's got, a couple of interceptions, most of those have been wide receiver drops. But I think a lot of his is he's a little gun shy. And I put it in the Gamecock Ate 'em Up award, where I ended up giving it to him for last week against SC State. I think he's finally getting comfortable again playing football. And I really saw it Saturday night against Kentucky. I think he's finally starting to have fun again. Because people can say what they want to about him. He didn't, quote unquote, lose his job because he was a terrible quarterback.
No, he had a good, interception or touchdown to interception ratio. It was just
right.
Yeah,
their defense and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was playing great. And when you're in a situation like that where you don't feel like you completely sucked it up and lost your job, you think there might have been a little funny business, a bunch of people around are saying there could have been a little funny business, that does something to you mentally. That takes something out of you. You start questioning yourself. You question everything about your game. What did I do wrong to deserve this? So I think he's just now starting to get comfortable and having fun with the game again. So that's why I think going forward, we're going to, turn a little bit of a corner for the offense. But I said all that to say this. Do y'all think the guys on offense that it's clicking for them, or do you think that the plays were actually different and that was the success? And of course, we have no clue. We have no clue if the guys are putting more effort into it, but that's just kind of, what are your thoughts on it?
For me personally, if I had to take a guess, I'd say it's maybe a combination of both. Like, they went through after the first few games, I was like, all right, this worked, this didn't. And the timing, Spencer Rattler, more practice time. Now he has a bye week, so the timing with the receivers, I feel like things are starting to come along. Maybe not as fast as we anticipated, but I could see like the combination, like I said.
I mean, it's like for me, like I agree with Russ. I think it's a combination because it seemed like we were getting people in space more, but it's not that I don't think we were trying not to get people in space earlier. But I think you're right, Brandon, where people are picking it up and they are understanding, the lanes that they have to be in, and and taking good angles and doing the things the right way. And so, I think when they do that, I think that allows Satterfield to get a little bit more creative. Because I think they feed off of one another, right? It's like one thing that I saw, rewatching it last night on TV. You guys remember when we had Ace Sanders would line up in the slot and Spurrier would drag him across the middle, and that poor linebacker couldn't catch him for hell?
Well, that was the big play to
Jalen
Brooks.
Yes, to Jalen Brooks. And when I saw that, I was like, that's beautiful.
Yep.
I mean,
and if you notice on that play too, Wells was actually wide open up top as well. So we had two wide open guys that would have ran for days.
Right. It's like the guys on the wide side cleared out. Jalen comes across the middle, and that poor linebacker couldn't keep up with him. And, it was a pitch and catch. It's like, to us, that looks like, well, it's a simple play. Well, it's not really that simple, but people are executing. They're running the routes. They're doing the clearing out. The line's giving him, he's had a lot of time to throw the ball. But let's not just, because I think Kentucky's DBs did a really good job Saturday night. And I think we capitalized on when we had most of the time we capitalized when we had our opportunities.
There's only one. I mean, when we blocked that punt, that is the only opportunity that I look at with 100% certainty and say that took points off the scoreboard. Because you can always look at it every other drive. We were moving the ball. If we would have did a full back on that 4th and 2, we picked it up. You don't know how that plays out. But on that play, which you don't know whose fault, maybe they just called the perfect play and it worked out and you tip your hat to them. But, on that play, if Spencer holds on to it or whatever, we're still getting at least a field goal out of that drive. So,
right.
But, that's what I was going to say. So, again, as bad as everybody wants to say the offense is, Marshawn Lloyd's number one in the SEC in rushing touchdowns. Wells is top 2 in receiving, was even higher than that. Spencer Rattler, although he has the interceptions, he's up there in passing yards and completion percentage. So to be such an offense, a terrible offense, we've got some pretty good stats out there for guys, and a lot of guys that are kind of towards the top in the SEC for such a terrible, terrible offense.
That's right. You joke about me being an engineer, but one of the things, just like Russ, I look at, you have to start peeling that onion back to look at the total success. Look at the day. I mean, I'm not going to go all Moneyball on you like Billy Bean and but it's but stats do matter. I mean, they do matter. I mean, but at the end of the day, we want to win ball games, right?
Yep.
That matters the most.
That's right. But I mean, sometimes you have to gauge success, your total success on the whole body of work. And like you said, we got like Marshawn, and Spencer, they're putting up, conference leading stats. So, and that can't be discounted.
And this man's still getting on the same page with not only a new offensive coordinator, but a bunch of new receivers that he didn't outside of Austin Stogner. Who has he played with coming into this year?
Yeah.
Nobody.
True.
Now, do I think Sack could definitely improve? Oh, yeah. I'm not out here saying he's the freaking greatest, but
he's not Steve Spurrier Jr.? Oh, wait, he was terrible too. Never mind.
Yeah, cut the junior off there. Just go with Steve Spurrier. Definitely not Steve Spurrier. But at the same time,
Steve Spurrier the second.
Yeah. Oh, man. Like, sorry, I don't even know how to word it. No, you good. I don't even know how to word it, man. Like, he's not the greatest, but at the same time, like, there's improvement. Like, I'm seeing improvement. Now, if we come out against Texas A&M and the offense does what they did at A&M last year and they have, like, 30 yards of offense going into the fourth quarter, that's not going to be good.
Yeah, yeah.
But
it's going to be ugly.
Yeah. But at the same time, like you said, that one drive after the blocked punt, like, should have been at worst a field goal there. So that's like 27. Or maybe the drive, instead of the interception at the end near the half, like come down and get a field goal there. That's 30 points. Like, I think they should have handed the ball off to Marshawn Lloyd after the block punt, like down inside the 15. But that's just me. But they're not too far off from.
Well, I think on that one, I think Spencer didn't read the rush because the way that the play started, we had everybody on his left, and as soon as he snapped the ball, he's looking left the whole time. Right. I think he knew that everything was going left, and he didn't care about what was on the right. So I think that was his error by not glancing over and saying, "Oh crap, there's an extra dude over here."
I think so.
I think that one was on him, just pre-snap read. But I think my question for Sat is, I think I question if he's called plays long enough to kind of understand what to call at certain situations in the game. I've said it before on some previous episodes. Where my issue with kind of his calls come in is we'll drive straight down the field, get inside the 10-yard line, and then he tries to go crazy with it. Oh, let's throw it here. Let's throw it there. Like, no, we're inside the 10. Just pound it in. We ran it all the way down the field.
Now we want to what works.
Yeah, like we'll run it all the way down the field. And then last year we had EJ Jenkins never throw him a lob ball, and I'm saying this just for laughs, but instead we would throw like Juju out wide and throw a fade to him or something. Like it's just some of the ones when we get into certain situations that just don't make sense. Again, that 4th and 2, we go into a shotgun formation and run it straight up the middle. Everybody knows we do that.
Everybody
third down, 4th down, we're running it right up the gut. That's what we do. Somebody had actually put, I think it might have been Brad Crawford, had posted a couple of weeks ago. It was literally like every third down that we've had this season. And it was like, run. And I'm like, okay, we get it. We run it on 3rd down, no matter the yardage. So that's really my issue with his play calling is just he gets in certain situations and you go, what? Like the Zach Peekins or whoever threw the pass, Birch, whoever threw the pass last year for the interception. Everybody's like, oh, that was the stupidest play ever. Like, if he hits it, it's the greatest play ever.
That's right.
It's
risk reward. It's risk reward.
For that type of game, and again, it didn't work, so of course we can judge it. In that situation, everything, I'd be a little but but let's not just harp on the offense. We the defense is played minus the Arkansas game. Special teams has been freaking rock solid. But on defense, I did take a screenshot, and it doesn't say whether it's for the whole nation or SEC. But Nick Imawari is the top freshman in both tackling and run defense, and he's the second in both of those categories, no matter the year or class. Man. This kid is going to leave South Carolina the greatest safety we've ever had, and I believe that, and that's saying something.
He's definitely off to like a superstar start.
Yeah,
man, child.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you see, and I got to give a shout out to my boy Stone Blanton too. he tipped the pass that led to the pick.
That's right.
That almost got taken to the house.
And Martin Scott.
Yeah, and we've got some freshmen, especially on the defensive side, and I know we've got some, Landon Sampson and all that everybody's praising on offense too, but we've got some freaking freshmen in this class that's going to be mega playmakers. And then when you look at what we're bringing in for next year, people judged me a few, about last year. I don't remember who had signed, and I made a comment and I said, this coaching staff's not even going to be – they're not just a really good coaching staff. They are an elite recruiting staff. Somebody's like, oh, it's too early to say that. I'm like, no, I'm making that claim right now. This is an elite recruiting staff. We may not finish like top 5 in class as far as the rankings and all that are concerned, but Nick E. had one other defensive one offer than us, I believe, or either we were the only one. That's it. One D1 offer, 1 or 2.
That's it. Wow.
That's it. And he's going to be an all SEC, maybe an all freshman, all American this year. Like
he should.
I'm flabbergasted that that's the case. It kind of goes back. When you said that, I kind of started thinking back. Some of the guys that people passed on that were 3-star.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like
DJ Swearinger was 3.
Yeah, look at Melvin Ingram.
Yep.
I mean, him or Kelsey Quarles or some of those other guys in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Kelsey was a beast.
Yes. And I think one of the things that I see this staff doing on the recruiting trail is, one, I could be wrong, but just me looking at it, they're recruiting our immediate need.
Yep.
And they are developing that talent.
So here you go. Hold on. I just pulled up his 247 recruiting. He has an offer from Richmond, Georgia Southern, Charlotte, and South Carolina.
Wow. I'm glad nobody else.
That's the evaluation these guys did for him.
And not only is he starting as a true freshman, but he's also producing.
Right. That's right.
And that's not even against like just small schools. Like this man came in against Georgia State. That what was it? Georgia State's first drive.
Yep.
It's 4th and 1, and Nick was the one that came up and saved the touchdown.
That's right.
He also led the team in tackles against Arkansas, I believe, which you never want a safety to lead your team in tackle.
Right. That's right.
But,
yeah.
He's a stud, and I think the defense, too, people are going to rag them on the first couple of games. Oh, we can't stop the run. We can't stop the run. We played 3 teams that are going to run the ball, I would say, in the top 10% of all teams in college football this year.
Absolutely.
You're not going to stop them to 75 yards rushing. The only way you do that is if you get a huge lead out in front of them and then force them to throw the ball, which you're not going to do because they're going to hold on to the ball, run the clock. That's the kind of games that they want to be in.
That's what happened.
Yeah, and if you look at as it progressed, there's still a couple of runs here and there. And again, you're going to give it up to Kentucky. Rodriguez, he's going to get his yards. But
that's right.
You give him a couple of 6 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards gains, but nobody broke any big runs Saturday.
See, that was exactly what I was thinking about rewatching the game. That defense on Saturday night reminded me of an Ellis Johnson defense in a sense that from the 30 to 30, they got yards. But when they got inside the 30,
it
seemed like it. Yeah, it's like they used like the end zone was a different defender, or I don't know if it's something changed, but it's like they tightened up. They got more. I'm not gonna say they got more physical, but it just seems like the closer they got to the goal line, the stouter we got.
Yep. And Kentucky's first touchdown on that fake shovel pass to the tight end over the middle, that was just a beautiful design. And
that was a beautiful play.
They hit that on, I think it was DQ Smith, bid on that. And let's be honest, I think the cameraman and everybody else, they juked their shorts off. Like, it was just a great design play. And the same thing, too, with that first reverse play that Spalding came through and caused the fumble that led to our first touchdown. If you watch that play, and I watched it about 10 times.
Yes.
If you watch it, our entire defense crashed on that first run. If Spalding does not come through and knock that ball loose, I think the guy's still running right now.
He gets behind, yeah.
He is in the secondary before anybody knows it's the other way. The only person that read it was Zach Pickens, and love my guy, but he ain't running down a wide receiver in
he's not.
space. It's just not how that's going to work. But when the running back, I don't know if it was Rodriguez, whoever they had in first, when he came down, the entire line, linebackers, everybody crashed. And then Spalding came through with one of the best individual plays you'll see on defense.
Right.
But yeah, the defense played one of, if not the best game Saturday. Of the season.
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I was thinking back about that first play. I think Stoops, I think he had it in his mind that their redshirt freshman quarterbacks never took in a snap, on Saturday. This is the second time he played in that stadium. I got tired of listening to him about playing in the high school championship game. But I think that he wanted to get a cheap touchdown because he knew that our defense would be solely based on stopping the run and filling the middle. And I think he wanted to get a cheap touchdown because you're right. If they would have got that, wouldn't have created that fumble, I think he still run.
Yeah.
He was Spalding, man.
He was back there, and I mean, it was like that first move was just like he was gone.
Well, and I think the biggest injustice in that whole situation was as soon as it happened, the announcer's like, "Oh, and it was Rush, and Rush came through and made the play. Rush this," and everybody thinks Darius Rush came through and knocked that through, and then everybody's giving praise to
Tonka.
To Tonka for, I want to say Hemingway, and I was like, crap, I forgot. Was that him? And then they're giving him credit for the scoop and running down to the two, and Spalding got completely lost in everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and he made the biggest impact in my opinion on that play.
Mm-hmm. He was the one that actually made the play. But all that's in the past, so let's take a look at the second half real quick. We've got A&M at home, Missouri at home. Then we go to the deadly confines of Vanderbilt. I don't even know what the heck is it, Commodore Stadium? Do they have a name to their stadium? I don't think most high schools actually name their stadium, so they may not have one. Then we're at Florida, Tennessee at home, and then go to Clemson. So I would argue our toughest games left are at home because obviously Clemson and Florida is still good, but I think Tennessee's probably above them right now.
I think you're right.
I'm glad we got them at home.
I really think Tennessee is harder than Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
In Florida, I have no idea what to expect from Florida.
Bipolar. Gotta take care of. Gotta get over this Texas A&M hump. 0-8, just like 2020, Auburn came to town, and if you remember in that game, all the announcers talked about South Carolina hasn't beat Auburn since 1933. Yada. Exactly. South Carolina has never beaten Texas A&M. I feel like this should be the year.
Yes.
Looking back at every A&M team we've played, they've always had like a crazy dual threat quarterback, could put up points. This year, they're kind of struggling to put up points, and their starting quarterback, I don't know if he's going to play in this game. So
unlike recruits, they can't buy points.
Right. And I don't know some of them refs, but freaking, if this was a year that South Carolina was going to have their best opportunity to beat Texas A&M. I think it's this year.
I agree.
Yeah, and I said last week that I felt the Kentucky game turned into a must-win with the injuries and just kind of how everything was going. I felt like it was a must-win for the team, for the season, for the program, recruiting-wise, and just for everything going forward. It just felt like, again, you don't want to have to beat somebody when they have a couple of injuries, but by God, I ain't going to wait until you get healthy. Nobody waited for us to get healthy last year. We had to go out and we played, and we still took care of business as well as we could have. Nobody gave us excuses. So same thing for Kentucky. As Beamer said, sorry, we had to play with some banged up quarterbacks too. That's just life.
We left one of our best safeties at home.
Yeah. So I with everything that happened, I felt like although they were higher ranked and all this, it seemed like a must-win game for us. I kind of feel like for everything that you just said, Russ, I feel like this A&M game is kind of turning into that too. I think I'm not pulling it up, but I think A&M actually has a bye this week as well, if I'm not mistaken. So both teams will come in relatively healthy, but we want to talk about bad offenses, and they've got one too. I think ours is starting to show signs of improving. So I feel like we should be getting there. Our defense looks like it's clicking for them too. Hopefully we don't have any off week rust coming into next week, but if we can come out strong, night game, A&M, just come off a big game. We sold out every game so far. Should for this one too, I think. Yeah, I kind of feel like, again, if you want to take that next step, if you want to get out of, no offense, if you don't want to play in mayonnaise in Charlotte, if you really want to take a step up in bowl games and stuff, got to win this game.
Yes.
I feel like this, not just being the first win over A&M, yada, 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 but recruiting win would be huge. Because how big is their recruiting class been the last few years? Shane Beamer, you get a win over that, you can look at these recruits you're trying to get, Nicholas Harbor, and be like, hey, look.
That's right.
We just beat a team that Gamecock Central, they do their star power, and I'm pretty sure A&M has way more 5-star players on their roster. So a win over them, I feel like that's not just a win on the season, but that's a potential huge recruiting win also.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and you got that, and then how many of our coaches came from Texas, Oklahoma area that we're trying to recruit in that area? So if we're able to go in and say, hey, we know that they got all these guys last year, but look what we're building, and we're already beating them. Never before have we beat them. We've been here a year, and we're starting to beat them. We're going to out-recruit them, and we're going to get there. After that, we got Mizzou coming in. They're kind of Missouri. And
got to beat them this year.
Other than those first few seasons in the SEC where they came out super hot, won the East and everything, they haven't been overly impressive. So this, to me, should win. It's not a die hard, a lot of pressure on it. Should win here.
Yeah, because I don't think I could be. I mean, we got to play the game, but I think I'm not sure that they can come out and play like they played against Georgia.
Yeah.
I think that was a case of they just got up for the game, and Georgia was maybe overlooking them.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think that was the concoction right there.
Then, of course, we go to Nashville. His Holiness Russ has already said he will be at that game.
Yes, sir.
I just gave you another nickname. You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
It's Vandy. You have to win this game.
You have to win the game. Yep.
So
I've never seen us lose to Vandy in person, and I've started going to the games. I've been there 2014, 16, 18. Didn't in 2020 because COVID.
I saw us lose one day.
Man,
I think Jake Cutler was the quarterback.
It's been a while.
I think 14 straight. Is that what it is?
something like that.
Somewhere in
Yeah.
there. It's definitely over a decade.
So
I
we're
think we're going to
four.
win that one.
So we're 4-2 now. We'll call Vandy. That's 5-2. Missouri again is in the should win pile for me. So we'll say 6-2. We got bowl eligible. A&M. I think we're all in agreement that kind of we feel confident in that
come
game.
down to the wire.
So
Yeah.
let's for the hell of argument, let's call it. So we could be 7-2. Again, I'm from the Hill, so I had South Carolina education, so I had to make sure that 4 + 3 = 7 there for a second. And then we go into the historical Orange Crush.
Oh, God, I hate it when we do that.
We couldn't put South Carolina State somewhere in there.
Exactly.
Nope.
I hate Orange so much, and I've seen it for 3 weeks in a row. Ugh.
So we've got at Florida, Tennessee home, at Clemson. For me right now, unless I see anything different, I think Tennessee's the toughest game here.
I agree.
Then Clemson really has not looked that good. They didn't last year either, but I'd probably put them in Florida right now as even. I would be very happy taking them all, but I'd be very happy with 2. Wouldn't be extremely blown away if we only got 1. I'd be highly disappointed if we only got 0. But looking at it right now, as crazy as it sounds, I think Clemson's the easiest game.
You think?
I do.
Because Tennessee's offense is freaking.
Because you don't know what Florida you're getting either. And Florida's been 1 week they've looked really good, 1 week they've looked really bad. Clemson they haven't seemed to get it yet this year. Where last year they had a little bit of the roller coaster and stuff and got caught in a game, but I think Clemson's on the way down. And this Clemson game feels like the Kentucky game. It seems like if it's going to be a time, we're catching them at the right time right now. If our offense picks up steam like I think we all feel like it is doing and will continue, I see our team taking bigger steps right now than they are.
I'd agree with that. And the reason I say,
and maybe they don't have as big of steps to take, and that's why I don't see them taking as big of steps. But
it's also, I think, and then I'm putting my what's the word I'm looking for? I'm putting my Gamecock fan hat on and saying that I really think, and I've said this before, that the new NIL for all of college football is starting to negate some of that.
Don't say it.
That organization there.
Don't say it.
And I think that we are now starting to see the parity, because programs that would not want to do anything like that or anything egregious, now they can, and it can be above board. And I just think there's going to be more parity across the bigger conferences.
Yeah, and I think Clemson's probably going to have the biggest struggle competing against the NIL than your Alabamas, even Ohio States and those teams, because although they want to believe it, Clemson is not a blue blood. And it's okay. It's okay. Hey, they got 3 national titles. Congratulations. You know,
that means something.
You got yours, but they can't walk in and say, hey, I'm Nick Saban. I've won every national championship since 1992. Like,
right.
That has a certain heavy of weight to it. And they do have a crap ton of money that they can still put towards NIL, but they're not going to compete with the Texas A&Ms of the world.
Yeah, Texas A&M got that oil money.
Yeah, they got that big money.
So I think that's why Dabo made his comments a few years ago that if players started getting paid, he would quit, because I think everybody has that understanding that once other schools are able to do things, it's going to put a really big damper on anything any of their recruiting advantages.
What do they always say? There's just something about them hills.
Yeah,
they got
bills in them.
That's right.
There's bills in the hills. There we go. Right. What do you think on the last three there, Russ?
Okay, so Florida, Tennessee, and Clemson. Like you said, man, Florida, you don't know which Florida you're going to get. I'm hoping we get the, last year Florida when we played them. I would take a nice 40.
Yeah, you have a great running quarterback. You should totally have him throw the ball every single play of the game. That's
throw it to Nick and Mallory like every play.
Right.
Like, I feel like we could go with how bipolar they are. If there was a year that we went into the swamp and got a win, I don't care if the score is 3-2. I'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now let's say this. If we feel like Florida is potentially a W, that would then have us 8-2. Tennessee's coming to our house. Massive game.
Massive
game.
Game day will be in Columbia. If we, get over A&M, Mizzou, Vandy, Florida, and Tennessee doesn't they still got to play Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah.
But if they take one of those games, they're still going to be in the top 10.
I agree.
But they haven't played too well in Columbia lately. I think, last 4 or 5 meetings that pretty much came down to like a one-score game.
And they really just jumped out insanely hot last year. Right.
Part of it was, like we mentioned earlier, the Jordan Birch interception end zone. You hand the ball to Kevin Harris. I think if memory serves me right, it would have been 14-7 right there.
Yep.
Instead of down 14-0, now they're coming down to go up like 21-0. But that's going to be a tough game. Like, I live up here in Tennessee. I work with a lot of balls. Some are pretty cool. They're realistic. And then we got the ones they're going undefeated, beating everyone by like 50 points.
Yeah.
I want that game.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to call it here. Upset alert. South Carolina over Tennessee in Columbia on College game day. Darius Rucker, guest picker. Let's go.
There we go. Boom. So what about the last?
Oh, the worst. Like we mentioned, they're not Trevor Lawrence, Clemson. I mean, they do got a really good defense. That offense. DJ,
I call him ukulele.
You with a lot of 20-something letters at the end of his name. With it being in their stadium, I think they might get us, but I'm cool with the classic Lee Corso, but closer than the experts think.
Right.
Until we do, it's like the Kentucky game. Until we beat them, I can't pick us to beat them. Even though that's kind of crazy considering I just said we're going to get A&M. But hey, A&M and Clemson are not on the same level this year.
This is true.
I agree with that.
This is true. And I think it's, looking at the bottom half realistically, I think another kind of 4-2 on the back end would have us at 8-4. With the chance of, I think our highest probability of dropping games are going to be those last 2, definitely.
Right.
And then I'd probably put Florida A&M kind of in that next tier. If we could somehow take A&M in Florida, and then if you potentially split Tennessee and Clemson, and we finish 9-3, but still be competitive in whichever game we drop. You can't have another Georgia like that, but we finish the year out 9-3, competitive in whichever one. If we do drop one, I'll take 10-2. I'm not going to complain about it. I think that's a really, really good improvement from last year. Probably go to the Outback Bowl for the 47th time because that's the only people that freaking ever want to bring us down.
But you know who we're going to be playing then. Bring on Michigan.
I was about to say
right.
Michigan or Wisconsin. That's who we all are. What was it? It was Ohio State when we played it back to back in 2000. Yeah. Then Michigan 14 times in a row. They probably don't want. Yeah, they probably don't want to see us right now. I think they still have bad times. Well, guys, I appreciate it. I think we kind of hit everything past, present, and future. So, Russ, I'm actually going to give you the reins. I end every episode and do a terrible impression of Demo with his "Go Gamecocks." So I'm actually going to let you wrap up the episode, dig down deep, and get your best Demo and send us out with the "Go Gamecocks."
All right, Gamecock Nation, thank you. Talk cocky with me, thank you. It's been nice, but in the voice of the one, the only, Demo. Go Gamecocks! 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 Gamecocks!